Siri, open the living room blinds. I made all of the existing blinds in my house smart. Retrofitting your existing blinds with something like the SwitchBot Blind Tilt is an affordable way to bring smart home control to Venetian style blinds that you may already have. Save time and even energy by automating these to open or close every day, or when the sun gets too bright, or even when the room gets too hot. This is hands down one of my favorite things about my smart home, and since these now support Matter, you can use these with your smart home platform of choice. I'll be using Apple HomeKit. Let's go. Yo, what's up guys? My name is Shane. If you're new here, and this channel is all about building an easy Apple home, smart home, with new videos published every Sunday and live streams every Wednesday. Thanks to SwitchBot for sponsoring today's video and sending me out a bunch of their blind tilts to install around my house. So I've used a number of SwitchBot products before in the past, and I really like them. I've had my eye on the blind tilt ever since they were first released earlier this year. But the reason I didn't get a bunch of them and install them sooner is because, well, HomeKit. As you may know, my entire smart home is built around the Apple Home ecosystem, and SwitchBot has not supported Apple HomeKit until recently with the release of their new SwitchBot Hub 2 with Matter support. So yes, you will need SwitchBot's Hub 2 in order to connect these to your smart home ecosystem, but I think this is a great device and it'll bring Matter support to SwitchBot devices like the Blind Tilt, so well worth it in my opinion. I recently made a video about this new hub and that Matter integration, which I'll link down in the description below if you want to check that video out after you watch this one. But onto the Blind Tilts. They work. The Blind Tilts, they now work in HomeKit, again, thanks to Matter support through the Hub 2. So I was actually using mine in Homebridge for a while, and now I'm able to get them into HomeKit natively thanks to that Hub 2 and Matter support. They're quite easy to install. They come with a solar panel, so that's awesome. Not separately, it comes with the solar panel, so you never have to worry about batteries or charging the device. You can also charge the built-in battery via USB Type-C if you need to. There is a built-in light sensor that you can also use to create automations with. They are intended to be used with blinds no longer than 3 meters, which I mean is really long. Siri, how many feet is 3 meters?
3 meters is 9.84 feet.
Okay. You also have to have blinds with the little tilt wand thing in order for these to work. So no pull cords for controlling the tilt position if you have those, but if you do have those, you know, the pull cords, and you don't have the tilt wand, you actually can still use the SwitchBot Blind Tilt. You'll just need to spend a few extra dollars to replace the tilt mechanism. So it's really not hard to do at all. You can get all the parts from a site called fixmyblinds.com or even Amazon. You just got to make sure that you get a tilt mechanism that will fit your blinds, and you should be good to go. This is something that I did. All of my blinds actually at one point were the pull cord type, you know, so there was no rod, before I changed out those tilt mechanisms to the wand style. Now I can use the SwitchBot Blind Tilts with all of my blinds. And this is actually not the first time that I've automated or retrofitted all the blinds in this area. For the past couple of years, I have been using something called the Soma Tilt. You would need to install a big motor somewhere near the window. My little workaround to this was to flip the blinds so that I can mount the motor behind the blinds. That got them past the wife approval test, I guess you could say. I also had to connect them to their own hub, which was called the Soma Tilt, or no, the Soma Connect. And that wasn't officially HomeKit certified, unfortunately, so I was never really crazy about that. Also, they cost over twice as much as the SwitchBot Blind Tilts, so not really cheap if you have a bunch of windows like I do. But it was really the only reasonable option for retrofitting existing blinds to work in HomeKit until now, thanks to SwitchBot And of course, now thanks to Matter and that Hub 2, we have native HomeKit support at a fraction of the cost, so it's a win-win. I had a bunch to install, and I first had to remove all of those Soma tilts. A few left some spots inside the windowsills that I'll have to fix later. So that's also something that you won't have to worry about with the SwitchBot Blind Tilts. You don't have to mount anything to the wall or whatever to worry about later. Only the solar panel, which will stick directly on the window. So I reversed my blinds back to the correct way and put the wands back on the blinds. The instructions tell you to first add the blind tilt to the SwitchBot app. That's probably not a bad idea, just to make sure they're working well and everything. And when you do that, the app will also give you kind of step-by-step instructions for setting them up, which is really nice. But I'll take you through the setup real quick. First, you just use the measuring paper tape that comes in the box to determine the adapter you'll need for the wand. Mine was a large. 4 adapters come in the box from small to extra large. So grab the adapter that you need, then use this little alignment card and stick the 2 folded parts to the bottom of the head rail. You'll put the adapter there where the little gap is. Then you'll grab the mounting base and install it on the left of the tab if you have enough space. So this is the recommended installation, but you can also install it on the other side if you need to. If you want to use the included solar panel, which is optional, you can attach that to the USB-C port, feed the cable through and stick the solar panel directly on your window using the included sticky tape. It says to pass the cable of the solar panel through the gap between the head rail and the top slat. I actually went above the head rail on mine, that way I could tie up and hide any access cable in the head rail. Next, attach the coupling to the adapter and fasten the little buckle that's on it, and this here should be nice and tight. Lastly, we'll install the main unit. Just slide it up onto the mounting bracket, align the gears on the coupling inside the main unit, and close it up. You can adjust the position of the main unit if you need to by pinching the little tab on the back and sliding it up or down. Just make sure that the cable doesn't, get in the way of the slats or the tilt mechanism or anything like that when you install this. There is a little base cover to snap on the top to make it look cleaner. Since I had the valances on all of my windows, I left this off just because it does add a little bit more thickness, and I wanted to make sure that I, had enough room for the valance to still fit over top. Next, you'll want to add them to the SwitchBot app and calibrate them. Push and hold the button on the bottom. Thanks to Bluetooth, the app should automatically detect the blind tilt. I did a quick firmware update. Then went through the calibration process, which is super easy on these. Just follow the directions and open and close the blinds as prompted, and you'll have them all set up. Once added successfully, if you have a SwitchBot hub already paired to your account, as I have, you'll see a prompt pop up saying that a hub was found nearby and asking you if you want to turn on cloud services. I do, of course, want to do that, so I'll tap Set, toggle on cloud services, and choose my new hub 2. So that's it for the installation. I just repeated these steps 7 more times and did all of the blinds in this large living room, dining room area that I have. Even the windows real high up, I had to break out my ladder to get up there and do those. This is a great time to have solar panels so I can put those up there, set it, forget it, don't have to change batteries or anything like that. Now that we're all set up in the SwitchBot app, you can of course open and close each blind tilt. You can set delays and schedules. You can even set automations that will happen based on the light level, since there is that little light sensor built in. In the settings, you do have the option to enable silent mode if maybe they're too loud for you. Personally, I don't think the regular performance mode is even very loud for me. I mean, you can hear them, but it's not too bad. So I'm totally fine with that. But if you like to automate them like early in the mornings or something like that, silent mode could be a good option. They'll open and close slower, but much quieter. Customize actions is a way just to add actions to the homepage in the SwitchBot app, and you can also create additional like favorite tilt positions here and save for later. Device groups, which is currently in beta, it says, is a way for you to group multiple blind tilts together and control them as one. We'll talk more about this later, and this is especially useful when we start discussing HomeKit and Matter. You can group up to 4 blind tilts together as one here in the SwitchBot app. And moving on, you can recalibrate them if you ever need to, and here's where you can turn on or off that cloud services and choose which SwitchBot hub the blind tilt is connected to. This is also where you can enable third-party cloud services like Google Assistant or Alexa. There's options to pair them with a SwitchBot NFC tag or a SwitchBot remote, all sold separately. You can check logs, device info, battery life, all that good stuff. Now, of course, HomeKit support is what I really wanted with these and what I'm mainly interested in. That means I do need to enable Matter support on these using that SwitchBot Hub 2. As I just showed you, the blind tilt is already connected to the Hub 2. Now if you go into the Hub 2 settings, you're looking for Matter configuration. You want to turn that on and connect the Hub in the Apple Home app if you haven't already. Then you can simply add any supported secondary devices to Matter right here. At the time of this recording, only the blind tilts and the SwitchBot curtains can be added to Matter through the Hub. SwitchBot is actively working on rolling out support to their other Bluetooth products in the near future. And when you add them to Matter or HomeKit, there are a few things to take note of. First of all, at least for me, it added everything to the default room in the Home app, regardless of what room my SwitchBot Hub 2 is in. They went into the default room and also gave them like some generic Matter accessory name. So you'll want to change that. I also noticed that currently there doesn't appear to be any way to close the blinds up using HomeKit, which is kind of a bummer. That's something I like to do. You can do that easily, of course, in the SwitchBot app, but they will all close down by default in the Home app. And again, I couldn't see any way to change that. That could potentially be a HomeKit issue or a HomeKit thing. That's what I think. Maybe even a Matter thing. I don't know, but I'd love to see some update come out that allows you to change the default so that they can also close up in the Apple Home app instead of down. And then the last thing really to note about the Matter integration here is that currently you can only add up to 6 SwitchBot devices to Matter through one hub, through your hub. I know they're working on increasing that number, but right now that is the limit. So if you have multiple accessories that you want to control together, like multiple blind tilts, you can create a group in the SwitchBot app. Then if you add that group to your Matter configuration, it will come in as only one accessory. And if you do have some that you prefer to always use, as groups, basically controlling multiple blind tilts together as one device, this does work really well. I would just recommend setting that group up first in the SwitchBot app, then bring that group into HomeKit via Matter if that's what you want to do. Again, you can pair up to 4 together as a group in the SwitchBot app, and you can add up to 6 devices to Matter. So this allows you to add more than 6 blind tilts to Matter essentially, since groups are only seen as one device by Matter. I hope that makes sense. I have been very impressed by the group functionality. One thing that kind of always sucked about the Soma tilts that I was using before was that when opening a bunch at the same time, they would never ever really be in sync. And I've even seen this be the case with more expensive roller shades, smart roller shades and stuff like that. And I'm very happy to say that when you pair more than one SwitchBot Blind Tilt together in a group, they work really well together. They are completely in sync when you open and close them, which just makes the whole experience, especially if you have a bunch of them, feel a little bit more premium. One great thing about the SwitchBot Blind Tilt is that you can still use the wand manually if you want to. That's something that I could not do before when using the Soma tilts. I'm always saying that manual control is a great thing to have in your smart home for those who maybe don't want to use their phone or figure out what phrase to yell at the HomePod. The status of the blind tilts do get a little screwy in the Apple Home app though, I noticed, especially if you go past the full open position and begin to close them upwards. And this even applies if you use the SwitchBot app to close them upwards. I noticed that if you do that, the Apple Home app will still think that they're open. And I think this is just the way that the Home app is handling, Venetian style blinds. So basically closed down is 0% and fully open is 100%. And if you go beyond that and start to kind of close them upwards, the Home app seems to get a little confused. It's not really a huge deal, especially if you use them exclusively in the Home app, but it is something to be aware of. Personally, I don't ever use these things manually, especially since I have so many of them. I set mine to automatically open in the mornings with the sunrise and close automatically in the evening. I also have them set to close when the last person leaves home, all done through HomeKit, and this is great, working great. I never really have to think about them. You know, they're always just kind of open or closed as I need them. Another favorite automation, which we discussed actually in last week's video, is a temperature automation that will close all the blinds if it gets too hot inside the living room. So we get lots of afternoon sun on that side of the house, which can really heat up the house. So I can use any of my HomeKit temperature sensors or even the little sensor on the SwitchBot Hub 2 as a trigger to close all the blinds when it gets over a certain temperature. And if I do want to control them outside of those automations, which I do sometimes, I have them programmed with a little SwitchBot button to open and close them all. You can also use a flick button or any other HomeKit button to, control them in HomeKit. Before having smart blinds, I would spend so much time each day opening and closing these things manually all throughout my house since we have so many windows. Not to mention those windows that are really high up that I couldn't reach at all. They just were either always open or always closed. Now I can control them all with my phone, or even better, automate them all with my smart home platform of choice. Super excited to have a retrofit option like this for my blinds that supports HomeKit natively now, thanks to Matter. They have worked great so far in my HomeKit setup as far as those automations go. A little wonky when controlling them in HomeKit, like I said, but just a simple open and close for your automations. They've worked flawlessly every day. They close, they open when they're supposed to. When we leave the house, they close. That's all been working great. And one last thing I should mention, maybe the most important thing of all, is that these did pass the wife approval factor. If you're married, you know this is important. I checked and double checked with the wife since these were going to be visible in, all of our main areas of the house, just to make sure she didn't have any objections, and she didn't. She said they look fine. Since they can fit behind the valances on our windows, there's just a little bit of extra showing, doesn't look too bad at all. And at least there's no big bulky motors that we have to mount. Plus we can still use our blinds manually like we always have if we want to. And just having that automation and smart home control of these has been great. If interested, you can pick one up for $69 US. They also sell them in packs of 2, 3, or 4, all with included solar panels and at a little bit discounted rates the more you get. I'll put links to everything down below, also any coupon codes that I can get a hold of to hopefully save you a little bit of money. Let me know what you think. Would you install these in your house? And if you want to see my full video with more information and details on that new SwitchBot Hub 2 with Matter, you can hit this link right over here. Do me a favor and give this video a thumbs up if you like it and got something out of it. Don't forget to subscribe for new Apple Home smart home videos and live streams every week right here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.